Welcome to this show session of OpenKM. During this session, I will show you the basic features, but also the most remarkable options that OpenKM offers in general terms. Here we can see that OpenKM can be customized. For example, on the left we have another OpenKM instance, and we can see that it provides another user interface, another color, another user disposition. So we can do the same for any organization interested on this kind of services. At a basic level, every organization can personalize the document management system. They can put their own logo. Here we have the opportunity to insert our login and password in order to access to the application, and we can also set the default language of our session. In my case, I have only two possibilities, but OpenKM is currently translated to more than 35 languages. So that means that any user of the same instance can log into the same application in their own language, and there won't be any problem. Once we log into OpenKM, we can see that the application looks like a classical desktop application. This makes it very easy to work with the document management system from the first time. OpenKM is organized in 4 work big areas. Here we can see a pop-up that informs us about the last change happened inside the document management system from the last time that we were logged. In my case, that I have received new mails. As I have suggested before, OpenKM is organized in 4 work big areas. The first one is the desktop, the space where we work with more documents and information. Here we have the search engine inserted in OpenKM that provides us the opportunity to search and retrieve all information that we store in OpenKM thanks several criteria. And here we have the dashboard. The dashboard is the last public work area and provides us a summary of what happened inside OpenKM at user level, in general terms, and also access to other features that we will see in a while. And finally, we have here the administration panel. The administration panel is the private area of the OpenKM in hands of the administrator or the IT department, and that is used to set the protocols and rules under which the application will work inside the organization. Here I would like to highlight some features. For example, the authentication button. It is used for the administrator in order to register the users. If they have not login and password, they cannot access to the application, either to the documentation. However, if the organization work with applications such Active Directory or LDAP, there won't be any problem because OpenKM offers, in general terms, data integration between the document management system and this kind of application. So each time that appears a new user or the status of a new user change, OpenKM will be fitted thanks that integration. What we have to have in consideration is that every user needs to have assigned a profile. The profiles are managed from this feature, and let us adapt the look and feel of the application to each user or group of users. For example, let's think that we work for a company that maintains a collaboration agreement with a university. And that means that the students come to our organization in order to perform their scholarships. So here the administrator can prepare an exclusive access to this kind of users. And now let's think that we are logging into OpenKM as a student, and here we can see how different the OpenKM looks like regarding the document management system that the staff has. Here the student can see OpenKM like an access to the repository. They can look for information, they can perform support tasks, but for example they cannot create new documents or edit the current ones. For that they need more privileged access to the desktop area that is not accessible for them. So I will come back to the default profile assigned to me, in this case to the administrator. I will enable again the desktop and the dashboard area in order to be able to access to the complete view of the document management system. If we make any change from the administration area, we can request people refresh the browser. If not, the administrator can perform these changes during out of office hours. Here we can see the desktop area organized in several parts. Here we have the menu bar, the toolbar with several icons in activated or desactivated mode. It depends on the node where we are. Now we are over a folder, but if we select, for example, a document, we can see how other icons has been activated because we can run the action behind that icon. If there is an icon that we don't know what that means, no problem, because we can put the pointer and it will display a brief explanation of what it does. On the left side, we have several sections of information. The most important for us, for BASIC, is the taxonomy that shows us the folders tree that organizes all the information that we save into OpenKM. Here we have the documents browser that shows us in a list way all the information that we save in each selection, this time on the main root. And here we have the properties panel. You can link it to every node of information inside OpenKM. It doesn't matter if we are over a folder, a record, a document, a mail. As we can see, the properties panel change in order to show us all the information that we have related to any item. If we have not previous information about what the attendant needs or requires, we are used to show OpenKM based on a simple example that we will use in order to see all the features available in OpenKM. This time we are connected as administrator. That means that we have access to all the features, all options, or privilege available in OpenKM. One of the most basic tasks that a user can perform inside the document management system is the creation, for example, of a folder. So for that kind of task, we can use this icon. And the first thing that OpenKM will do is ask us the name of the item. We want to create a folder, so let's call a folder. If we want to create a subfolder, for example, what we have to do is select where we want to create that subfolder. And this time, in order to be different, I will use the contextual menu. And again, we should name the new item. And then we have our beginner folders tree. The next basic task that we can launch is the insertion of documentation into the document management system. Here we can see the pop-up that gives us the opportunity to select a document from its original location, for example, this one. And related to the event of add new documents into OpenKM, we have two possibilities. We can import documents from zip. That is interesting if we want, for example, add a zip, because if we have selected this option, OpenKM will unzip the file, so every item will be available directly inside OpenKM for the rest of users. And also we can notify to users this event. We should insert a notification message, at least 3 characters. And here we can see that we can have access to the OpenKM user list at individual level or at group level. And here, as we are administrator, we have the opportunity to send notifications to users from outside the document management system, but also with credentials. So here we will see how OpenKM is able to insert this document. Here we have it. And now, in order to see the effects that the OpenKM notification have above outsider users, we can see here how I have received an OpenKM notification with the message that we have inserted right now, information about the user who has sent to me this notification, and a link. And if I click on the link, we would be able to see that OpenKM display a user access interface where I have to insert my login and password in order to access to the application, and therefore in the exact place where it is located this resource. Let's think that now we want to share this document with someone of outside the document management system and without credential. Then we could generate a download link, for example, send the download link through the mail feature, and then paste on the body of the message the download link. This time I want to send to them this download link, but let's think that as administrator, we are worried about what happened inside the document management system, and then we would like to know how many documents are shared with outsiders of OpenKM. So as administrator, accessing to the administration panel, we can have a look to the download tokens. And regarding this document, we can see that someone has created a download link. We can see the creator, the date of creation, if the download token has been used or not, and the expiration date. And as a user can create a download token, we as administrator can remove the download token. The user will have received the mail address, but anyway, the download token won't work. Here we have seen how we could upload one document per one. In OpenKM, we can select several documents at the same time, and with drag and drop, insert all files into the system, and here we can see all documents uploaded at the same time. From the documents browser, we can run some more massive activities, like for example, select all the documents, select one of them, and then send them, for example, move them to another location, this time the subfolder. Now I think that we could pass to analyze all the information that we can have regarding any item inside OpenKM. Let's take, for example, this document. In the properties panel, we see information such as the universal unique identifier. It's interesting because it doesn't matter if users try to change the name of the document. OpenKM will have in consideration always this definition. Here we can see the name. If the name is quite difficult to remember, or in order to look for them into the search engine, people will be able to assign them a title. So if we go to the search engine and we go to the advanced mode, if we don't remember the name, at least we could look for the document thanks the title. And here we have arrived to the same document thanks one word inside the title of this document. And if we click on the document, we can come back to the specific place where it is located. We can see, well, where it is, the size, the current version, the language. OpenKM is able to detect the language thanks to the body of the message, the creation date on the author, the last modification date on the author, the extension. We could add keywords. That will be part of the keywords cloud, for example. And if we make any mistake, we can remove them. We can see the status of the document, if we are subscribed or not to this file. The subscription service is interesting. Let's think that this document is very relevant to us, and it is a document that we share with other users that can perform changes over the document. So if I add a subscription to this file, here we can see a new icon. Now in subscribed we can see a yes, and in subscribed users we will see the summary of users who are subscribed to that document. That means that for every action or change performed over this file, we will receive an OpenKM notification as we have seen previously. In OpenKM, we can add a subscription to every node of information. For example, at a folder level, we can add a subscription. We can see that service because the color of the folder has changed. And in this case, we will receive notifications about everything happen inside this environment. And here we have a summary of indicators of our activity. The number of documents that we have locked, the number of documents that we have left in edition mode, or the current subscription. Currently, I subscribe to the notes, and from the dashboard at user level, I can see the summary of indicators of my activity. We are subscribed to one document and to one folder. So here we'll be able at the same time end the subscription service if we want. Then we won't receive any more notifications about anything happened inside this area. We come back to the file that we are using as example. We can add two categories. The categories are have the form of another folders tree created thanks different interest of the organization. For example, here we have some examples. Then let's think that this document is related to our business in Canada, for example. So I can access to the categories, and by region, America, North, Canada, we can add this information. Here we have it. And also we could add more categories if we need. For example, let's think that this document is related to the marketing and sales department, for example, and so on. The next week we will have a meeting with our partners in Canada. So from categories, I can serve over the documentation that I have in OpenKM, and we can see that effectively this document is related to our business in Canada, but I can see too that other documents are related to the same topic. So in this case, we can see an example of use of categories that help us to determine all the information that I have related to a same issue. And this time I will be able to prepare better my meeting with or my partners or my customers there. In notes, obviously, we can add notes to the documents, like the classical posits. That icon means that the notes tab has content. Security tab. The security tab is one of the most interesting parts of the document management system. In the security, it is a section that we have available regarding every node of information, regarding records, regarding folders, regarding documents inside folders, or even emails. And here, well, we can see how we can manage several privilege. The read privilege means that we will be able to see that this folder exists, for example. Write means that we will be able to edit the content inside the folder. Delete means that we will be able to send it to the trash. And security means that if we are able to see the security tab, we will be able to edit the security of that item. It is something that we can do at group level or at personal level. And for example, this time, let's see that, how we can change the security of the folder. Let's remove the most group of users as possible and let only the directors or managers access in read-only mode to the folder. At personal level, let's remove the Joomla user and let's the human resource user access in read-only mode. So here we can see how in real time we have changed the security of the folder. And in the subfolder, let's do more or less the same. At a group level, I will remove the same roles that I remove in the folder. And regarding individuals, I will let this time the human user access with two privilege, read and write. And I will use this time this option, recursive permission changes. That means that this security will be inherited by the next documents that we can insert in the subfolder. So in the folder, we can see one security, and in the subfolder, we can see another security. And that's the status shared by all the items inside the subfolder without the need to go item per item editing the security. Here we can see an example of a new document that has been inserted in the subfolder after changing the security and how that new item share the same security. So now, in order to see the effects that the security change perform over the security users, let's access to the document management system with the credentials of a human resource user that, as we can check, they have assigned another user profile. So we will take the opportunity to see also the effects of the different profiles assignment. And for example, regarding the menu bar, the human resource user has access to less options than the administrator. The same happens regarding the sections of information available on the left side of the desktop area. Here we can see how the human resource user has access to my documents, email, or trash. Even the folders tree color is different. The red color means that the user can access on read-only mode, and even we can see how the human resource user missed the access to the advanced examples folder with all the subfolders gathered inside. So the human resource user has not even the intention to access to a folder that for them doesn't exist. If we try to access, for example, from the OKM root in the human resource user session, or in the human administrator session, we can see the difference. For example, regarding a folder, the human resource user can see properties, notes, and relations tab. Here, the administrator can see more information, among them access to the security tab. So here we can see another effect of the profiles assignation. However, well, regarding this file, if as administrator we want to add a node, whatever, here the administrator can add nodes because here we have edit right. However, here the human resources user cannot see even the section to insert more information because in the folder the human resource user access in read-only mode. However, here in the subfolder, the human resource user can add information. Why? Because in this area we have set it that the human resource user could access with two privileges, read and write. And that's the reason why we can insert a note regarding this document. Here we can see the comments inserted by the human resource user. As administrator, if we consider that it is not appropriate, we can remove it, but only the human resource user can add or remove certain parts of the comment. Let's come back to the administrator session completely. Here we can see how we can manage a certain privilege, read, write, delete, and security. But let's think that, for example, this is not enough for the administrator. So the administrator can access to the OpenKM Knowledge Center, that is the repository of resources of information to enlarge our complete or instance. So here we can see that we have some resources available for everybody and other resources that are protected. In order to access to that locked resources, we should log into OpenKM, be client of OpenKM, and then here we can see how we have access to more options. Regarding the security, if I want to see the possibilities about the security configuration, we can access to the content related to this option, and here as administrator we can see how we could extend the security. That means that apart read, write, delete, or security, we could add more privilege. Set who will be able to download a document inside that folder, who will be able to start a workflow, who will be able to combat history, or who will be able to work in a different way with the property groups that are at the end the metadata groups. So, well, that's an option regarding the security. History. The History tab let us access to the complete life cycle of a document. We can see the different versions, the different authors, the different size. We could download previous versions or even restore versions that are not the current one. And also, a very interesting option available in the History tab is that we can compare different versions of the same file. For example, this time we will compare the first version with the current version. And if I click in Expand Properties, here you can see that on the right we have the 1.1 version, and on the left we have the previous version, the 1.0. And in red, we can see the content inserted this time by the manager. We can see the contributions of each author highlighted in red. This is something that OpenKM can do regardless the extension. We have seen how OpenKM is able to do it with Word. So let's check if it is able to do the same with Excel. And here we can see this document that has had the 3 versions, and here we are comparing the 1.1 version with the current version, and we can check how in the 1.2 version we have real information comparing with the 1.1 version that looks like more a template. In preview, obviously, we can preview the document. It's interesting because if users cannot download the content or edit the content, at least they can see the body of the message, so they can see the information. If we have the right to launch print jobs, we can do it. We could change the view of the document. We could zoom in or zoom out. Now that I'm sharing my screen with you, we could see in full screen mode the document. We could surf over the different pages of the document, change of pointer, and also perform searches of concepts that whose results will appear on the left. And if we have the right to edit, then we will have the opportunity to make this edition works over the preview. For example, if we want, I don't know, highlight any content or add a note or strike out content that which is not proper to us. We can even add rows, and obviously we can delete any kind of comment inserted. So we could preview the documents with the contribution of our colleagues or all notes, or see it empty. Relations tab is a very interesting section that let us show the links that the documentation is developing inside the document management system. We can define different kind of relationships, equivalent relationship. Let's think, for example, that this document is a contract, and we have the Spanish and English version. So the English version could be equivalent to the Spanish version. We can set if this document comes from another document, if this document create other documents, or if this document maintains a relationship with other documents at the same level. Regarding relations, I have here a set of examples available related to budgets, invoices, and group of and perform my invoices. So here we can see a set of documents that show a specific icon. That icon means that the Relations tab has content. And for example, this time we can see that the budget 1 has a parent-child relations with the Performa invoice 1. Where it is the Performa invoice 1? Well, thanks to the Relations tab of the budget one, we can go directly to the Proforma invoice one without the need to know where it is. We can see how we surf over the folders repository. Now we are on the Proforma invoice folder, and here in the Proforma invoice one, we can see from its own Relations tab the reflect of the relationship. Effectively, it maintains a parent-child relationship with the budget one, but also it maintains its own parent-child relationship with the invoice sample one. If we select other documents, now we are on the invoice folder, and here we can see that the invoice sample one, it is related with the Proforma invoice one. We can go to different documents in order to see different relations. This time, for example, invoice group, where we can insert more documents by name. Here we have it, a new addition to the invoice group. And now we are on that document on its properties panel, specifically under its relations tab, and we can access to the same information. And we can move from one document to another from the relations tab. We can also search for documents by its location in the folders tree, and now we have that subfolder as part of the invoice group. We could, if we want, download all this information as a zip, and here, well, we can see all that information. We have seen what we can do regarding relations. Workflows. The Workflows tab means that we could see the workflows related with that documents. In OpenKM, we have a workflow engine embedded that it can be managed from this button. And this time we have a purchase workflow as example. Let's start it. And in this case, we have to insert this information. If we refresh, now we can see that in the workflow tab related to this file, we have new content, our workflow. And from this tab, we can see the definition of this procedure. It is a procedure that starts, it's supposed to make a decision. If the price is cheap, then the procedure passes directly to the approved state. But if the price is expensive, it goes to the task manager position. That means that we need the manager's approval in order to move forward regarding this workload. So let's go out from the human resource user and access now to the manager session. Let's say that it is the first time in the day that the manager logged into the OpenKM, and here we can see that the manager received a pop-up informing them that they have a new workflow task assigned to them. So it doesn't matter if we click on the icon or on the pop-up, OpenKM will send us to the dashboard. That is where we can manage the workflows. Here we can see effectively that we have a pending task, a purchase procedure assigned to us, where we have to evaluate a price. If we click on evaluate a price, OpenKM display the information related to this workflow. And well, obviously here we are talking about a workflow example, a simple workflow example. But anyway, if we consider that we have not access to relevant information, we can go directly to the document and have a look on the preferences panel in order to see all the information that can help us to make a proper decision. So once we have checked on the information, we can approve or deny. Let's approve. Well, the workflow has been removed. Why? Because the manager has done what is expected from their side regarding this workflow. And that's something that the administrator can see. If we refresh and we come back to the workflow, we can see how the procedure has moved to the next stage, the approved status. And if we refresh again, Well, as it is an example, we can see how the workflow has arrived to the end status. So, and we have seen here everything that we can do with all the sections available in the properties panel. But as administrator, accessing to the profile, we can add more sections of information. And let's add all these sections as example. We save the changes. We refresh in order to apply the changes performed from the administration panel. And if we come back to the document, here we can see how its properties panel has been has become bigger or larger. In activity log, we can apply a complete audit about everything happened to this document. We can have a look event by event, for example, who has created the document. The document has been created by the administrator on this date, and here we can see some parameters related to the event, or we can have a look over to every action. For example, it has been created by the administrator. After created, the administrator has renamed the item. After that, the manager opened in edition mode the file and has inserted a new version. And here we can see the note added when they upload the version. Well, we can see information about every item. In forum, we can open discussions related to the document. Note we should insert objective information, but here in forum, we can discuss or talk about more abstract or complex issues. Here in permissions, for example, we can see that there is a forum opened by the manager because the manager like it insert a new privilege in the folder. And here we can see the answer of the administrator regarding the comment inserted by the manager. And here we can see how the administrator suggests them fill a form that is located in another place in order to send that form to the administrators. In Wiki, we can highlight the resources that we use in order to give content to the document, and even if it is a resource from outside, we can access anyway. In text extracted, we can see how OpenKM has extracted all the words that belongs to the body of the message. This is useful when a user wants to launch a search job. For example, let's say that we don't remember the name or the title or any keyword or category of a document, but we know that it talks about the different terms that people use in order to search enterprise content management, document management, or so on. So in the search engine, we can enjoy this field that gives us the opportunity to uh, find the document that we can recognize from the thumbnail. We can see that this time the search engine has found this document not by thanks any keyword or category, but these terms that we have inserted in the content that are highlighted in blue regarding the rest of the context. And well, until this point, we have seen how we can work with a properties panel in an extended mode. Let's think that in this case, this is not enough. I am worried about the status of this document. I would like share with my colleagues that this document is needs be robust. So for that cases, we should use metadata groups. The word metadata means data that inform about other data, that give information about other data, and this time we will choose the content metadata that gives us the opportunity to add this kind of information. So now we know that the content of this document should be robust. And again, well, in this case, we have added the metadata group voluntarily, but in OpenKM we can create several sections where our organization can apply business processes. And in that case, the automation is very useful. So, for example, let's think that we want to add a document to this folder, whatever. For example, this PowerPoint presentation. We will see that this time we won't be able to open directly or upload directly this document, but OpenKM will ask us certain information in order to upload finally this document. So this time I have to insert an expiration date, for example. When I try to upload a document to this folder, I have to send a notification to my manager. When we will be near to the 31st October, then I want that the organization send a notification, an automatic notification to the administrator. And finally, once the document is expired, then I want that the application will inform every user inside of OpenKM. The insertion of expiration date doesn't mean that the document will be removed from OpenKM on 31st October. We can use the expiration date as we want. For example, let's think that after the 31st October, the document will be converted to PDF or whatever. Now we continue, and we have to set to which department it belongs and what kind of document it is. And it is important. Yes, it is important. We can add this kind of keyword. And now, yes, after follow and fill fulfill the procedure, we can upload the document with the keywords, with the categories, and with the metadata, this time the expiration date. And if we have something to change, we can do it. If we make any mistake, we can come back to the previous state. So here, well, we have seen what we can do with documents, applying business processes. If we want to, for example, share this document with outsiders and we want to avoid edition works over the document, we can convert the file into PDF. And here, well, we have the previous version and the PDF version. In OpenKM, obviously, we can edit any kind of documents, thanks the live edit. But right now, let's see how we can create a new version using the stamp feature. The stamp feature will be able for any user of the choice of the administrator, and here the administrator can enable us access to the specific stamps or watermarks that we need in order to fulfill our obligations. And here we can see even from the thumbnail how OpenKM has created a new version on the PDF. And here, if we click on Div tab, we can see how OpenKM detects that change of content, that this time is this approved text that shows also a dynamic date. When we have several PDFs, we can select them and try to merge the PDF, creating a new document. We can choose also the order of that document. And here we can see how OpenKM has created a new file composed by the two previous PDFs. In templates, we can save forms that makes easier the work to the staff. They can use a template that follows always the same structure. And then, for example, let's think that we want to create a new document based on this template. So we try to create a new file from template. The first thing that OpenKM will do is ask where we want to create that new document. And then we take the opportunity to give a new name. We can create that document with all the categories, keywords, notes, or wiki that comes by default with the template or not. And once we want to create the new form, the application gives us the opportunity to fill the form already. So this time, for example, Jenna Smith is expertise in Java, and here we have the new form that we want, we can see fitted from the thumbnail, and we can manage the fields in a metadata way. So if we make any mistake, for example, the birth date cannot be today, then we can select another suitable date, and this data can be used in order to try to find this document or edit the content of different documents. Now, well, we have seen more or less all the actions that we can perform from the desktop. Reports. Well, in OpenKM we can create reports regarding any item interesting to us. The reports are stored in the administration panel. Here we have all the reports defined on the instance. However, that doesn't mean that all reports will be accessible for everybody. Here in the profiles, we have access to the report sections that will enable or disable the access to the workflows. And if we want, we can run a workflow on live, and here we can see how OpenKM has create a report informing us about the workflow that we have runs today. Obviously, if we go to the OpenKM Knowledge Center and we have a look into the administration guide, we can see how to create our workflow, our report, how edit current report that we are using, and in Reports Pack, we can see a selection of reports ready to use. So I think that we can go to the search engine in order to have a look in the search engine. In the search engine, obviously, we can look for information based on full text mode, and also have a look on the advanced mode that let us apply more resource and more filters in order to obtain a better battery of results. We can look for information by context. We have seen how we can use the content. We can look for information by name, by title, by keyword, how many documents have the OpenKM word and are stored in the taxonomy, by language. For example, let's think that we want to know how many documents that talk about OpenKM we have in the document management system. We have 129 documents, so that's too much. So let's apply another criteria, language. How many documents in English we have that talk about OpenKM? 119. That has not improved very much. So let's use another criteria, this time the administrator. And now we have a battery of results better than before, but we want to improve it more. So let's apply a range of dates, and then we want to see how many documents that talks about OpenKM right in English and created by the administrator during these days we have in OpenKM, and we have only 2 files that help us very much in order to work on the suitable file. On the advanced tab, we can use other criteria. For example, the location in the folders tree, the category too. I don't know if we have any document that fill this for criteria, but in this case we have not. So I will remove that criteria. But we can also run searches by type, by document, over any folder, mail. If we want to search mails, OpenKM display the fields required. We can also look for information by mimetype, by extension, or even we can look for information for thanks the notes. And also we can use the metadata. We have worked during this session with some examples of metadata groups. So let's, for example, look at document by for example, the language. I want to see how many users or members of the organization are expert in Java. So I can see here the form. Even if I want to see highlighted the metadata groups, I can select that option. That gives me the opportunity to see all that information. Let's say that this time I want to see how many documents I have in OpenKM that needs to be revised. And this time we can see that I have 87 documents that fill that this criteria that help me to make strategic decisions, for example. And also we can see the relations between documents. And here, for example, looking for the budget that we know that has a relation, we can even access to another document. And here, from its relations tab, we can see that the budget 3 is related has a relationship with the proforma invoice 3. Something that I have that we have here is the store searches. In OpenKM, we can save like a relevant resource, any content in a store search, so users won't need to look for information all the time in that criteria. And also we can create search agents in OpenKM. For example, let's think that the next week we will be on holidays this week, from today until the next week, and that the administrator will start some projects where we have a role. And here we can see that we have this a selection of user news, something relevant to us. And as we are working as administrator during this session, we can see how OpenKM has been able to find news in OpenKM. So that gives us the opportunity to go to the dashboard. And here in news, we can see all documents that are managed by the administrator during this period of time. And if we want to see if we have to do, something to do, we can see here that document. At user level, we have seen that we have access to the indicators of our activity, the number of documents that we have logged, or, for example, the mails that we have received into OpenKM. We can use OpenKM like a mail archive. And here we can see all mails ordered by year, month, and day. And obviously, we can preview them, we can reply, we can reply to everybody, forward, or have a look on the options. At general terms, we can see how OpenKM is used by the organization. We can have a look at the last week of view documents, the last modified documents, and so on. We have seen how we can work with documents. We can have a look on mails, the header, the body of the message. We can insert more mail addresses in OpenKM. With this feature, we don't need to have open the Outlook, the Gmail, or the Hotmail at the same time. The only thing that we have to do is fill the form, the host, the user, the mail password. It is supposed that we are the person that we are filling the form, so no problem regarding that. And if we miss any item, OpenKM show us that that data is mandatory. We can set if we want to keep that mail in the mail address. If mark means that we want to delete, and we can check the configuration in order to see if the connectivity between OpenKM and the mail address is okay. And this time is okay. After configure a mail address into OpenKM, we can apply filters. for example, this mail address has many filters, and if we want insert a new filter, once we have inserted a mail address, we can apply different filters. For example, regarding this mail address, we have here an example of filter. We can set a filter from the person that sent the document, to whom, any word inside the subject or in the body. And this time, well, the value is that GWT plugin, and that means that in all documents that or mails that fit that rule will be stored in that path. And here we have it. In workflow, we have seen how we can work with workflows. In an assignment pending tags, we would see the workflows assigned by departments. In the keywords map, we can have a look on the keywords that are used by the organization, and we can use them in order to filter the results. For example, if we want to see where it is this document that has patient and OpenKM as keywords cloud, we can do it. Task Manager. OpenKM has a task manager in order to manage tasks that affect several users at the same time. We can see the task filtered by assignment, by activity, or have a look to the closed tasks. In the case that I have not any document, we can also apply, determine or define an state. Then, if we want to set a new state, we only need to, for example, add the approved state. We can link the new task to a project, and here then we should define the project. And also define the type of projects that we can run into the document management system. And now, if we want, we can add a new task. We should insert the subject. We can decide when it will start on a specific date. We can set a reminder, and we can do the same with the end date. We can repeat this event every hour, day, week, month, or year. And we can repeat this even until a certain date or certain number of times. This time I won't do it. We can set a progress on the task, and assign a status, a project, a type. And here is where we can invite people at individual level or at group level. And here, well, we could add any description considered relevant. We create an event. That means that these people will have received a notification from OpenKM. And now, if we consider adequate, we can advise them access to certain resources in order to prepare this meeting, documents, entire folders, mails, or even records. We can see this event highlighted in the calendar, in month, week, or day way. If we consider that is too much, we can come back to the task manager, and as author or creator, we can set and a specific date. And well, here we can see that this information has been properly inserted. In Forum, as we have access to a Forum tab related to every document, we have a Forum available at a general level for every user or group of users. And the same happened with the wiki. So that means that we can display the evacuation plan, emergency numbers, or well, employee manual. And now let's see an example of OpenKM customization. We have seen that we can change the look and feel of the application. So now let's think that we belongs to a sales department. And then the salesperson log into OpenKM, although this person doesn't need to know that they are logging into OpenKM. And here we can see how the OpenKM looks for them. Here the salesperson can see their login, the number of potential clients, the mail inbox. It is the way to maintain relationships with other departments or other colleagues, the list of clients assigned to them, the search engine that is adapted to this purpose. It is the same search engine that we can enjoy from the document management system, but this time adapted to these needs or specific requirements that the salesperson have. For example, this time we can look for a lead by mail address, by name, by type, by the user assigned, by the status, company, or mail. Obviously, well, we could access to the configuration panel and also out of the session. So, well, this is something that we use at internal level, and when someone fill the form in our website, then we receive a new assignation. As we are here in a demo environment, I will create a new lead by hand. Let's see at, well, I don't know, a new the name, the mail, the complete address, the language, the user assigned, the subject, and the message. Now we have a new potential client assigned to the sales one. And here we can see highlighted the main data related to this new potential client: the name, the mail address, the state, the status, the initial date, the last modification date, how many days they are waiting, the kind of product that is interesting for them. And here we can see, well, the first mail. Then the salesperson can take the opportunity to answer and enjoy some templates that will make easier the work for them. And here we can see how the template is properly personalized with the username and the salesperson signature. This is something that the administrator can manage from the standard view of the OpenKM. Here we can see how the application is able to organize or classify all the information that we share with Peppa Pig this time. And also we can edit the data of this potential client. For example, if they have another mail phone number, we could insert it. So now here as administrator, we can have a look on to the folder dedicated to this department. And here in leads active and assigned to the sales one, we can see a new lead. OpenKM automatically has created a folder with the mail address of the user, we can see how OpenKM has extracted as metadata all the information inserted by the user through the contact form in the mail. Here we can see when the user salesperson has opened and read the contact. And here, well, we can see, we can check if the salesperson has followed the procedure, and we can confirm it. The salesperson has sent to the contact the first, the proper template, the proper answer. OpenKM comes to with an OCR engine embedded inside the document management system. In the administration panel, the administrator can set all the templates related to business processes that follow always the same documentation that fits always the same requirements. In this demo, we have available a real example about a rent-a-car organization that needs to know the exact status of each operation around the country. So in this case, the organization needs to integrate OpenKM with a third database that contain several informations considered relevant for each operation. Here, I think that we can see a selection of data from that database that provide us information about what they consider relevant. Information about the plate number of each vehicle, the name of the company, the chassis number, the date, the label, and the model. Regarding each rent car operation, the organization would need certain documents. For example, a drive license. Any customer that wants to hire a car have to have a drive license. So regarding the drive license, they were interested in two data: the plate number and the chassis number. Here we can see an scanned drive license, and we can see how we can set an OCR template in OpenKM. So we should fill the form. We should give a name to the data that we will capture. Here we can set different types of information that the OCR should read. In my case, my OCR engine can read barcodes, dates, numbers, strings, and this is a personalized type. So, well, the OpenKM can adapt the OCR to different informations to capture. We should capture the information as metadata. If the information follows a pattern, we can set the pattern. We can use the information to capture in order to recognize the document. And here we can see the information that the OCR will read. And we can adapt the space with the mouse or with axes X and Y. And at the same time that the OCR engine has to capture the plate number, it has to capture to the chassis number, and the chassis number appears always here. So now, in order to see how the OpenKM works regarding the OCR, let's take a document, for example, a drive license. I will copy it and send it directly to the scanner folder in order to make believe in my demo that I'm scanning documentation. So here we can see the document, and now let's go to the administration panel and have a look to the cron tab. The cron tab is a feature that organizes all the information of the task that the document management system runs regarding certain periods of time. For example, here we can see the antivirus checker. The antivirus checker is running each 5 minutes periods of time. That means that each 5 minutes the antivirus is activated, analyze all the information that has been inserted into OpenKM, and when it finished, it goes to sleep, to say in some way. So the administrator can balance the workload supported by the hardware and software. So here I think that we can have a look to the OCR. The OCR is here, and in order to avoid wait until the next 5 minutes periods of activation, I will run automatically the OCR. So now the OCR is analyzing all the information that has been introduced in OpenKM through the scanner. And if there is percentage of coincidence, then the OCR will runs the procedures related to that documentation. So now I think that we can come back to the desktop, and if we refresh, here we can see that we have not anymore that document. That means that this document has been processed. And now let's think that, well, we work in a call center for the rent-a-car organization, and that we receive a call from a customer or a potential customer that unfortunately has a problem with their car. So the first thing that I have to do is check if I'm talking with a customer of the rent-a-car company, or if I am talking to someone who should call to the insurance firm. So the first thing that I can do, supported by OpenKM, is ask the person about the plate number. And they told me that the plate number start by these two figures, and unfortunately there is a lot of noise, so I cannot capture more information, but thankfully I can be sure that I'm talking with the customer, and from the thumbnail I can check that I have the um, drive license of the customer. Here we can see that OpenKM has been able to convert the extension of the document from picture to a PDF. OpenKM has renamed also the document, and if we click here in View Metadata Group, we can see how OpenKM has been able to extract information contained in different sources, and then give content to all to the metadata group. For example, regarding the plate number metadata group, we know that the OCR engine has been able to extract the plate number, the chassis number, and determine to the kind of document. But we know also that this date, the label, the model, and the tax identification number of the customer, OpenKM has obtained that information from the third database that is integrated with OpenKM. And most important, where it is this document? This document is located where the administrator has established, and in this kind, well, under the name of the firm that is able to represent the headquarters in their area of influence. And here we can see that we have access to the document, and alongside all this data that, as we can see, we can use in order to find the document. Here we have seen an example of a CR engine that shows also other features, other possibilities that OpenKM offers in general terms.